They said he was finished. They said the architect had drawn his final blueprint. But on this night, at the Royal Rumble, Seth Rollins didn't just prove them wrong, he carved his name into history with blood, sweat, and a performance that will echo through eternity. What you're about to witness is not just a match. It's a masterclass in survival. It's a testament to the human spirit. And by the time we reach the end of this story, you'll understand why some men refuse to stay down, no matter how hard the world tries to bury them. The Royal Rumble. The biggest spectacle in professional wrestling. 30 superstars, 1 ring, and dreams that hang in the balance like stars waiting to fall. But before we get to that chaos, before we get to that beautiful madness, we had a collision that nobody will ever forget. The Intercontinental Championship was on the line, and standing across from each other were 2 warriors who represented everything this business is built on. On one side, Bron Breakker, the young lion, the freight train of destruction, the man who has demolished everyone in his path with the kind of ruthless efficiency that makes legends tremble. 27 years old and already holding gold, already being called the future, already being whispered about as the next unstoppable force. And on the other side, the man they call the visionary, the revolutionary, the architect of modern wrestling, Seth Rollins. But tonight, Seth Rollins wasn't dressed in his usual flamboyant gear. No, tonight he wore something different. Tonight, he wore a mask. Not just any mask, a tribute, a statement, a message to everyone watching that even when the world tries to cover your face, even when they try to hide your identity, your spirit cannot be contained. Now, before we go any further, I need you to do something for me. If you believe in the power of never giving up, if you believe that heart can overcome size and speed, then hit that subscribe button right now. Join the SLAMZONE family, because we're about to break down one of the most emotional, most brutal, most unforgettable battles you'll ever witness. And trust me, you don't want to miss a single second of what's coming. Hit that notification bell too, because we drop wrestling content that hits harder than a super kick to the jaw, and you deserve to be here for every moment of it. The atmosphere inside the Ameritech Arena was electric. You could taste the anticipation in the air like static before lightning strikes. 60,000 fans packed into that building, and every single one of them knew they were about to see something special. The lights dimmed. The countdown began. And when Seth Rollins' music hit, the roof nearly came off the building. He walked to that ring with purpose in every step, the mask covering half his face, his eyes burning with an intensity that could melt steel. This wasn't just another match for him. This was personal. This was about proving that experience, that wisdom, that sheer will to survive could stand up against youth and power. And then Bron Breakker's music exploded through the speakers. The crowd's reaction was split, half in awe, half in fear. Because when you see Bron Breakker in person, when you see that physical specimen walking to the ring, you understand why they call him a once-in-a-generation athlete. He's built like his uncle Scott Steiner, and his father Rick Steiner carved him from granite. Every muscle defined, every movement calculated, every expression screaming dominance. He held that Intercontinental Championship like it was an extension of his soul, and when he raised it high, he wasn't just showing gold, he was making a promise. A promise that Seth Rollins would leave on a stretcher. The bell rang, and the violence began immediately. No feeling out process. No technical exchange to start. These 2 men came out swinging like their lives depended on it. Rollins, the smaller man, the craftier veteran, tried to use his speed advantage right away. He ducked a clothesline from Breakker and hit the ropes, coming back with a flying forearm that would have knocked out a normal man. But Bron Breakker isn't normal. He absorbed it, stumbled back 2 steps, and then smiled. That smile sent chills down my spine because you could see in his eyes he was enjoying this. Breakker rushed forward like a charging bull, and Rollins had just enough awareness to sidestep, sending the champion crashing into the corner turnbuckle with such force that the entire ring shook. The crowd was on their feet already, chanting, "This is awesome! This is awesome!" And we were barely 2 minutes into the match. Rollins didn't waste the opportunity. He grabbed Breakker from behind, spun him around, and unleashed a combination of chops that echoed through the arena like gunshots. The champion's chest was already turning red, welts forming with each brutal strike, but Bron grabbed Rollins' wrist mid-chop, yanked him forward, and delivered a headbutt that would have cracked concrete. Rollins went down hard. You could see him checking his nose through the mask, making sure nothing was broken, and in that split second of vulnerability, Breakker pounced. He grabbed Seth by the leg, dragged him to the center of the ring, and locked in a single-leg Boston Crab that had Rollins screaming in agony. The referee was right there asking if he wanted to quit, but Seth, this man who has clawed his way through hell multiple times in his career, shook his head violently. No. Never. Not tonight. Not ever. The crowd started a rhythmic clap, willing Rollins toward the ropes. You could feel the energy shift in the building. These fans weren't just watching a match, they were part of it, their voices becoming fuel for the visionary's survival. Inch by painful inch, Rollins dragged himself and the 240 pounds of Bron Breakker toward the bottom rope. His fingers were trembling, reaching out like a man grasping for salvation. And when he finally grabbed that rope, when he finally forced the break, the pop from the crowd was deafening. But Breakker wasn't done. Champions don't get to the top by showing mercy, and this young man understood that better than most. He pulled Rollins to his feet, hoisted him up onto his shoulders with frightening ease, and you could see what was coming. The gorilla press slam. Breakker held Seth up there, 8 feet in the air, walking around the ring like he was showing off a trophy, and then he threw him down with such impact that Rollins bounced off the canvas. The first pin attempt. 1, 2, kick out. How did Rollins kick out? Even Breakker looked shocked, staring down at this masked warrior who refused to die. But shock turned to anger quickly, and Bron started targeting Rollins' ribs with vicious boots. Each stomp designed to break bones, to break spirit. Rollins tried to roll away, tried to escape, but Breakker stayed on him like a predator on wounded prey. And this is where the story gets even more emotional. Because Seth Rollins has had his back against the wall before. He's been told he'd never walk again. He's been counted out more times than I can count. But every single time, he finds a way. Every single time, he reaches down into some reservoir of strength that defies explanation. Tonight would be no different. Breakker pulled Rollins up again, looking for his devastating spear, the move that has ended countless careers. He backed into the corner, measuring his opponent, and you could hear the crowd collectively hold their breath. This was it. If that spear connected clean, this match was over. Bron charged forward like a missile, but at the last possible second, and I mean the absolute last microsecond, Rollins moved. He sidestepped with the grace of a matador, and Breakker's shoulder crashed into the steel ring post with a sound that made everyone in the building wince. The champion stumbled backward, holding his shoulder, and Rollins saw his opening. He springboarded off the middle rope and connected with a beautiful knee strike right to Breakker's jaw. The champion went down. The crowd erupted. Rollins crawled over for the cover. 1, 2, kick out. Bron Breakker kicked out with authority, throwing Rollins off him like he weighed nothing. Both men were down now, the referee starting his count. The camera zoomed in on Rollins' masked face, and you could see the exhaustion, the pain, but also something else. Determination. Pure, unfiltered determination. He pulled himself up using the ropes at a count of 7. Breakker was up at 8, and they met in the center of the ring, trading forearms like two gladiators who had forgotten what surrender meant. Right hand from Breakker. Forearm from Rollins. Right hand. Forearm. The crowd was losing their minds, chanting for both men, unable to decide who they wanted to win because both were giving everything they had. Rollins got the advantage, hitting a super kick that stunned Breakker. Then another. Then a third that finally dropped the champion to one knee. Seth backed into the ropes, building momentum, and hit a devastating curb stomp out of nowhere. The building exploded. This had to be it. Rollins hooked the leg, putting all his weight on the pin. 1, 2, no. Bron Breakker's shoulders shot up at 2 9/10, and even Rollins couldn't believe it. He sat there, hands on his head, the mask hiding his expression but his body language screaming disbelief. If you're feeling this intensity right now, if your heart is racing like mine was when I first watched this, then do me a favor. Hit that like button, smash that subscribe, and drop a comment telling me who you thought was winning at this point. Because I'm telling you, at this moment in the match, nobody knew. Not the fans. Not the commentators. Not even these two warriors themselves. Join the SLAMZONE family and never miss breakdowns this intense. Rollins knew he had to dig deeper. He climbed to the top rope, something he doesn't do often anymore because of all the injuries his body has endured. But tonight, for this moment, he was willing to risk it all. He steadied himself, the crowd on their feet, and he launched himself into a frog splash that connected perfectly with Breakker's chest. Another cover. 1, 2, kick out. What is it going to take? That question hung in the air like smoke. What does Seth Rollins have to do to keep this mountain of a man down? But before Seth could contemplate his next move, Breakker exploded upward with a ferocity that defied logic. He grabbed Rollins, lifted him up, and delivered a Frankensteiner that sent the visionary flying across the ring. Then Bron, sensing the end was near, called for his finisher. The Gorilla Press Power Slam. The move that had won him the title. The move that had never failed him. He grabbed Rollins, lifted him high, but Seth wiggled free. He landed behind Breakker, shoved him into the ropes, and when Bron bounced back, Rollins caught him with a pedigree. The move that has won him world championships. The move that has defined his career. He turned Breakker over. 1, 2, kick out. The arena was in absolute pandemonium. Fans were crying. Fans were screaming. Some were just standing there with their mouths open in disbelief. This match had transcended sport. It had become art. It had become a story that would be told for generations. Rollins, running on fumes now, backed into the corner one more time. He was calling for it. The stomp that ends all stomps. Breakker struggled to his feet, dazed, vulnerable. Rollins charged forward, leaped high, and brought his boot down, but Breakker caught him. He caught him mid-stomp, adjusted his grip, and drove Rollins down with a spear so devastating that it should be illegal in 48 states. Breakker hooked both legs, putting all his weight on the cover. 1, 2, 3, it's over. Bron Breakker retains the Intercontinental Championship in a match that will live forever in our memories. But here's what happened next that made this moment legendary. Breakker stood up, championship in hand, victorious as he should be. But then he looked down at Seth Rollins, still laid out from that final spear, and something changed in his expression. Respect. He extended his hand. The crowd went silent, wondering what Rollins would do. And after what felt like an eternity, Seth grabbed that hand, pulled himself up, and the two warriors embraced in the center of the ring. That's when you remember what this is all about. It's not just about winning and losing. It's about respect. It's about pushing each other to limits that create legends. Seth Rollins didn't win the championship that night, but he won something far more valuable. He proved that the visionary, the architect, the revolutionary is still one of the greatest to ever do it. And Bron Breakker showed why he's the future, proving he can hang with the absolute best and come out on top. Before we close this out, one last time subscribe to SLAMZONE, hit that notification bell, share this video with every wrestling fan you know, because we're building something special here. We're creating a community that celebrates these incredible moments together. Your support means everything, and I promise to keep bringing you content that honors this beautiful sport we all love. The Masked Man gave it everything. Bron Breakker gave it everything. And on this night at the Royal Rumble, we were all reminded why we love professional wrestling. Because it's not just about the outcomes. It's about the journey. It's about the moments that make you stand up and cheer, that make you believe, that make you feel alive. Thank you for being part of the SLAMZONE family. Until next time, keep the passion alive, keep believing in the power of never giving up, and remember, in this ring, legends are made, and tonight, we witnessed two of them.